As you know, my name is Syed Ahmed. I am the CEO of Sign In English Academy and Overseas Education Consultancy. Today, I am going to discuss when to use V1 if it's go, when to use V1 if it goes. Let's first understand there are four forms. There are generally four forms to any verb. Verb is got four forms. Generally referred to as V1, V2, V3, V4. Today I am going to speak to you specific to what is V1, what is V2, what is V3, what is V4 with special focus on the usage of V1. Let's take some examples. Go, goes, went, gone, going. Do, does. What is V2? Did, done and doing. Choose, chose, chosen, not chosen as is generally pronounced because there is a single O here. It's chosen, not chosen. Choosing. Students generally have a confusion when to use go, when to use goes, when to add s, when not to add s, when to add s and make it chooses, when not to add s and let it remain choose. Let's first understand, what's the difference between go and goes? What's the difference between do and does? What's the difference between choose and chooses? Is there a difference? No, there is no difference. Then when do we say go? When do we say goes? When do we say do? When do we say does? When do we say choose? When do we say chooses? To understand this, I cite an example. He goes. He goes to the market daily. What do I use for they? What do I use for they? Do I say goes? No. I only say go. Why? A verb without s is a plural verb used for plural subject. A verb with s in the present tense is a singular verb used for singular subject. Let's further understand. They go to the market daily. It's a regular action which keeps happening. It can happen daily, it can happen weekly, it can happen monthly, and so on. So when action happens regularly, we use V1. But when we use V1, there are instances where we add s to the verb and say goes. We don't add s to the verb and just say go. Sometimes we add s to the verb and say does. Sometimes we don't add s to the verb and say only do. Sometimes we add the word s and say chooses. Sometimes we don't add the letter s and say choose. But when do we say choose? When do we say chooses? First understand, when we don't have s in the V1, when we don't have s in the V1 verb, it is a plural verb without s, used for a plural subject. When we have s in the V1 verb, it is a singular verb to be used for singular subject. So because subject is singular, it has to have a singular verb. So when does the verb become singular? When you add s. When you remove s, it becomes plural. This is opposite in the case of nouns. I am discussing verbs. When we add s, the verb becomes singular to be used for singular subject. When you remove s, the verb becomes plural to be used for a plural subject. What are the exceptions? I and you, though they are singular, they are treated as plural subjects. That's why we have verb without s. Either it's go, it's do, it's eat, any verb, any V1 verb. We don't add s here. Why? Because I and you, along with they and other plurals, are in the same category. Unlike he, she, it, that, which are third person singulars, are singulars. So have to have a singular verb. What singular verb? When you add s to the V1 verb, it becomes singular. When you remove s from the V1 verb, it becomes plural. This is exactly opposite in the case of nouns. How? Let's see it here. Boy doesn't have s. It's a singular noun. Boys. It has s. Becomes a plural noun. Book doesn't have s. Becomes a singular noun. Book has an s. Becomes a plural noun. But it's exactly opposite in the case of verb. Verb singular. Go plus es becomes singular. Whereas in the case of noun, without s, it becomes singular. With s, it becomes plural. But in the case of verb, when we add s, it becomes singular. When we remove s, it becomes plural. Let's take some more examples. Get plus s becomes singular. Get without s becomes plural. Eat with s becomes singular verb. Eat without s becomes a plural verb. So, what do we understand? Whenever you use a V1 verb, V1 verb, as you all know, is used for regular actions, which can happen daily, which can happen on a weekly basis, which can happen on a monthly basis, or so on. There are instances where we add s, there are instances where we don't add s. To understand this, verb with s is a singular verb to be used for a singular subject. V1 verb without a s is a plural verb to be used for a plural noun with I and you as exceptions. I and you, though are singulars, they are treated as plural subjects, so they carry V1 verb without s. Hope I am clear. Thank you.